There is no such thing as the fear of failure, so you've got to stop letting it hold you back. Driven Mofos, welcome back to another episode of The Underestimated Entrepreneur. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Michael Mojo. I'm the founder of Mojo Human Performance Institute, where we focus on business, mindset, and lifestyle hacking for driven mofos. And the reason why I do these episodes is that most people waste their life, and I just don't want you to be one of them. Let's talk about the fear of failure. I hear it all the time. Michael, I have this fear of failure. I'm holding myself back because of the fear of failure. I procrastinate because I have this fear of failure. The truth is that the fear of failure doesn't exist. We just pretend that it does, and then we over-exaggerate it, and we pretend that it stops us from doing things. And it doesn't exist because it's never failure that's the problem. It's what failure brings in the person's mind. So let's just say someone thinks that if I fail, I'll be judged. So they actually have a fear of judgment. And then if I ask, well, what does judgment mean? And they say, well, then I lose respect. So then maybe they have a fear of a lack of respect. Someone might say, well, I've got a fear of being criticized. If I fail, then I'll get criticized. It might be I have a fear of losing all my money. So there's normally some other underlying fear or multiple underlying fears that then they label as the fear of failure. It's really important to identify what those fears are and then work out how to balance them out or how to realize that there are actually a lot of benefits to it. I know that something over the years that I've learned is that I had this fear of criticism. My fear of criticism was that if I don't do a good job, people are going to criticize me. But then what I realized is that the greatest growth that I've ever had has normally come through criticism. People criticize because number one, they don't understand things. They're probably shitty communicators. But then there are other times where criticism is really good, where I've been criticized before for certain things that I've done, and it's made me stop and reflect, and maybe it helps me to get better. Like sometimes I've been criticized for my knowledge, but that drove me to get really, really good with the knowledge that I do have and understand things at a higher level than most other people. I feared getting criticized for my weight and the way that I look, but it forced me to go to the gym and exercise. So essentially the fear of failure is an underlying fear of other fears, and they're normally tied around insecurities or something that we fear might happen to us. And then it's those things that we need to deal with. Should we deal with those things, then we don't have a fear of failure anymore, so we can just get on with shit and get stuff done. I think that most people in our society that I come across use the fear of failure as just another justification as to why they're not getting results. But when you realize that it doesn't exist, you can just get on, get shit done, achieve things, and you can keep kicking ass. And that if you deal with the underlying other issues that are going on, it'll massively help. The more you work on your self-belief, your self-love, your self-respect, the clearer you are with your values and you prioritize them on a daily basis, the more you have a great mission in life, a grand focus that you're focusing on that drives you and you're doing it properly, the more you map down your visions that you consistently get that inspire you, the more that you create a lifestyle balance that works for your life, not the life of other people. The more you do these things, the more likely you are to achieve great things, and you won't have these fears pop up consistently. So for me, one of my biggest fears, and actually probably the biggest fear that I have, is never achieving the lifestyle that I want. And that drives way more decisions for me and drives my action way more than the fear of failure or the fear of criticism or the fear of being judged. Because I just realized that, I am going to be those things, but I would rather have other people judge me than judge myself. I would rather have other people criticize me than consistently be criticizing myself. And I would rather live an epic life that most people dream of than to waste my life by just holding myself back because of some bullshit idea. So I think that it's really important to create that success map. And, I spent a lot of time going through this at our Thrive Time event for that exact reason. Because what I find is that if most people aren't clear on those things and they have a really, really effective map, which, I take you through that step by step and hold your hand so that you can build your success map for life, which is unique yours. It's as unique as your own thumbprint. And if you get it wrong, then I notice that there are self-sabotage patterns, there are procrastinations, there are justifications as to why you don't have the results you want. There are a whole bunch of fears, worries, concerns, all these things pop up. It creates emotional volatilities. So it's just better to get clear with your shit so then you don't have to really worry about it. You can just get on with achieving things. If you need help doing it, then please grab your ticket to my Thrive Time event. It's not expensive, especially for the amount of time that most people waste and the amount of money that most people waste in life. It's not even a comparison. It's peanuts for what you're paying for compared to, the amount of craziness that most people have in their life. I mean, I run some events and they're like $10,000. Some of my events are like $20,000, $30,000. Now Thrive Time's a lot cheaper than that. But I have people who say to me, well, this is expensive. But at the same time, they go and blow $100 a week on alcohol, and they've been doing that for 10 years. So 52 times 10, then times that by 10 years. It's a lot of fucking money. Then you go, well, how much time do you waste? Now, let's just say that this person's earning $50 an hour. If let's say they waste on average, the average Australian spends about 2.5 hours to 3 hours on social media per day. It normally spends about 3 hours per day watching television on average. This is the average Australian, according to the Bureau of Statistics. Now, let's just say their time is worth $50 an hour, and their future time, based on their goals, might be worth $200 or $300 an hour. Now, every hour that they waste by doing something that's non-productive and non-effective is essentially destroying their self-worth, but also destroying their ability to create the future that they want. Now, most people say things like, wow, that's expensive, but it's more expensive not to do shit and not to achieve things in life, because you're essentially wasting your time and depreciating yourself, which then means your value and worth goes down as you age, not the other way around, which it should be your value and worth goes up as you age, because you don't waste time. I know that just even in the last 6 months, I've become more effective than what I've been in years. In fact, I'm recording this podcast at 10:30 at night. I'm sitting here and I'm still working because I've just got heaps of shit to do. And this is just what I do. And I'm more effective. I'm more productive. I don't tend to have a lot of procrastination or a lot of self-sabotage or a lot of time wastage. I'm so clear with what I'm trying to achieve. I just get on with it and get it done. And so because of that, my time, my cost per hour that I can execute goes up dramatically. So let's just say I'm worth $100 an hour. If I can do that for 12 hours, that's $1,200 per day versus the average person that's spending 5 hours a day working effectively, a couple of hours a day wasting time and sort of fucking around and not being heaps effective, then a couple of hours on TV, a couple of hours on social media. And so, I mean, their effective time might be, let's just say they're worth $15 an hour, $20 an hour maybe. You know, they're only going to be making 80, 90 bucks a day worth of value. The more that you keep doing that, the more you find ways of being more effective, because the more you push yourself and the more you push your time, the more effective you have to learn how to be with your time, which then means you make better decisions with your time. You're more effective. You stop letting yourself get distracted by other bullshit. And this is why people who achieve and work at a high level tend to outperform the average person way, way beyond what the average person thinks. And I hear this all the time, no one's worth that amount of money. I can't believe someone would make that in a year. But that's because to them, the only strategy that they have is just to work harder. And then they run out of time instead of being more effective, more productive. And also, you've got 24 hours in a day. The average person doesn't really put a lot of that time to effective use. Now, let's just say you've got 8 hours of sleep. You've still got 16 hours of the day of productive time. And I know that most people are not productive in 16 hours. They might be productive for a couple of hours a day, if that. And then most of the time, they'll be wasting it in some way, shape, or form. They're not being effective. Anyway, my point is that if you really want to achieve great things in your life, come along to Thrive Time, grab your ticket for it, because for what you get, and I always give a money back guarantee on my events. If you come to that event and you don't get your value, the cool thing is that you get to keep all the resources, you get to keep all the knowledge, and I'll give you your money back. No questions asked. You just fucking get your money back. But I've never had to do it. I had one person, they walked out of the event because their partner, they were there trying to make their partner change, and their partner started to realize this. He became a bit more stronger and a bit more dominant in his stance and said, I think he sort of stood up to his wife a little bit, and I think she got a bit scared and convinced them not to come back the next day. And my team called them and said, what's going on? And they just said, we already know all this stuff. You're not teaching us anything new. And which is really interesting, and it surprised my team because I've never even had that happen before. Even, we get medical doctors, and we've had the ex-head of Air Asia. We've had some like super high level business leaders come through, and none of them have ever said that before. So I don't know, like they must be walking on water and shit and think that they're Jesus by, or what they think they know. So other than that, we give the money back guarantee because I know that it will absolutely help to change the way that people operate. And if you're one of those people out there who want to get the best out of yourself, guarantee that event will blow your mind, and it will change the way you think forever, and it will change the way you operate, and it will make you more effective, more productive, and it will stop you worrying about things like this fear of failure that doesn't really exist. Anyway, Driven Mofos, I hope that helps. If you haven't grabbed your ticket yet to Thrive Time, please do so. We run it a couple of times a year, but it's definitely well worth it. Anyway, Driven Mofos, never underestimate the dream. Keep living with Mojo, and you can check out that event on our website, which is www.themojomaster.com.au, or you can jump on our Facebook page, and there's normally links and stuff on there, or you can shoot me a private message. Anyway, Driven Mofos, have a good one, and remember, fear of failure doesn't exist, so don't let it hold you back.